If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derek Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. Welcome to the show, folks. We appreciate you joining us. This is the one, the only Retire Texas Style. My name is Jessica, and I'm alongside Mr. Derek Caldwell here of Hoyle Financial Group. As always, Derek, my buddy, my pal, welcome. How you doing?
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. New year, right? Exciting.
That's right. Yeah, new year, new you, new financial plan. Yeah. Put it all together. I do want to talk about, it's that weird uncle that joins us every year for a family dinner. Good old Uncle Sam, right? Just when you thought you got rid of him, he's back. And now is the time that you're seeing, ads. They're telling you to update your favorite tax filing software. Or maybe you're like me and you've started going through your records and you're pulling all the information you need for your tax preparer. And you're getting ahead of this deadline of April 15th. And then, Derek, I read an article that said, don't confuse tax filing with tax planning. So can you explain how year-round tax planning is different and how you do it there at Hoyle too?
Yeah, definitely. Tax planning is all-encompassing. That's something where you need to partner with us. What we do with tax planning throughout the year is look for opportunities. When you file your taxes at the end of the year or at the start of, the next year, all you're doing is writing down information. You're giving your accountant the information that they request and everything. And a lot of accountants too, they're not tax planners. They're just number crunchers, guys. And so that's where we partner with accountants throughout the state and everything, and we look for opportunities. How can we save you money in taxes? Whether you have a small business and you need to talk about business planning, succession planning, what are you going to do with your business? All that stuff goes into doing it in advance. The portfolio management strategies, when we look at tax loss harvesting, and charitable giving. I'd say probably 75-80% of our clients do charitable giving, but they're doing it wrong. They're not taking advantage of a lot of the opportunities out there with that, and as well as just income strategies, when to take money, how to take money, from where to take money from. All these things go into proper tax planning because I tell my accountant too, guys, I have an accountant that I partner with, and I tell him, look, let's sit down, we're going to go through this and everything, but if I can save 2% a year, I'm going to do it.
That's right.
Because you're talking about if your income's $100,000, well, that's $2,000 you didn't give Uncle Sam that they don't deserve.
I mean, every penny counts.
Yeah, and make no mistake, guys, Uncle Sam does not want you to do tax planning. Their perfect ideal, U.S. citizen is, we're going to give you this form and you fill it out and send it in and send us our check, right?
That's
They
it.
don't want you to take advantage of it. That's why the tax code is, 1,000 pages. But that's why you partner with people who know what they're doing to give you those opportunities to save money. Because everybody that's listening right now has paid enough, and it is paying enough to our government, and you don't need to pay any more than you have to, guys.
Now, if we're going to be in retirement, let's say for 20 plus years or so, we will need to have growth on our money. But the question is, how much? And do you need to beat the stock market? Well, wealth advisor Larry Sprung talked to Yahoo Finance and said that there's actually other factors that you should consider.
It's not really what the return is. It's really what do I get to keep when all's said and done. And if your return is, 5%, you then have to take off inflation. You then have to take off what you owe in terms of taxes and see what you're really left with when all's said and done. And if that's a number that you can live with, then that might be an investment that works for you. If it's not, you might have to look elsewhere.
Okay, well, break this down for me here, because the bottom line, it comes down to what is the average return rate that your clients, Derek, need to have a successful retirement?
I'm going to expand on what Larry said because he's missing a key point here. It's also how much you spend in retirement. How much are you withdrawing from those retirement accounts, guys? Because if you're withdrawing 5%, okay, well, yeah, unless you just want to deplete the heck out of it, when you factor in inflation and everything, you need a 7 or 8% return to keep up with that. And that's on a consistent annual basis. So a lot of things that go into that and things you should be looking for. But when we talk and sit down, spending is a huge deal. One of the biggest traps that I see clients get into is that they have X amount of dollars. And when we run an analysis on it, and let's say their portfolio, hey, we can withdraw 4.5% annually off this. And they say, okay, well, that's not enough money for me. I want to spend more. I want to do that in retirement. But their risk tolerance is not in a place that they can take on additional risk and get higher return or the possibility of higher return. So when I say the trap is, hey, I want to spend X amount of dollars, so I'm going to take on way more risk than I feel comfortable with, but because I want to overspend, that's what I'm going to do. And that's a huge trap, guys. That's a huge thing I see all the time, that people are uncomfortable in their portfolios because they feel like they have to generate X amount of return every year to live the lifestyle they want to use. And one of the things we use to balance that out are fixed index annuities that have lifetime income riders. That with that, you can produce a lot more income than you can in most other financial instruments out there. But when people don't understand how to utilize them or the proper way to utilize them and just portfolio diversification, they always take on more risk than they need to. And what happens is they dig themselves a big hole. They feel uncomfortable. They're doing these withdrawals. And then what happens is that they overspend and it compounds the problem considerably. So the average return, when you ask me, Jess, like what's the average return? Generally I'd say between 6 and 7% is what but it varies widely, guys. If you're a guy who wants to live high on the hog and you have X amount of assets and you're withdrawing 10%, well, that, first of all, I'll tell you that's way too much. But your risk is going to have to be extreme in retirement to generate that and not deplete your assets. So all those psychological things, the budgeting, the spending, the analytics, and running withdrawals, using fixed index annuities, all this stuff I just talked about is part of retirement planning that you should know. If you have an advisor right now that you're working with and you don't know, first of all, what your rate of withdrawal is, how much you're taking out, and how much your portfolio can generate, you're with the wrong advisor, guys. You should know these things. That's something where you don't need to know how the sausage is made, but you want to know those highlights. So come see us. Those are things that if you don't know those things, you need to sit down with me so I can explain those to you and give you a second opinion where we can make sure that you're not watching the news and not worried about, oh man, this year the market got killed, so I got to start eating beanie weenies.
Exactly. Derek, speaking about these meetings, whether someone comes in and they sit down with you or Steve or another member of the team there, what is that first meeting like?
Yeah, so the first meeting is most of the time we ask people upload documents to us. We use a secure upload link where we can get a good picture of your financial situation, goals. And the first meeting is to sit down with you and kind of review that. Let's see if the numbers match what you're saying, if we understand everything correctly, and quite frankly, to get to know you. What are your goals? Do you want to, like you said before, just if your goal is to sit and watch, Wild West TV shows, and hey, that's great, and sometimes health plays into that. But if you want to travel, you want to go on 10 cruises a year, if you want to see your grandkids every week or things like that, all come into play where getting to know you and understanding those goals are very, very important. I mean, I can't properly advise you and tell you how to maximize your retirement if we don't know those things. So, and we want you to, quite frankly, you want to work with somebody that you like, that you're on the same wavelength as far as retirement strategies and how much risk you want to take on. So I tell clients all the time, hey, this is an interview both ways. I mean, I want you to ask me the questions where you feel really, really comfortable and happy about where your money is.
Now, the word annuity, it often gets a bad rap in the financial world. And it's because critics tend to group all types of annuities under one umbrella. But if you've been with us for a while and you've been listening to the show, you know that is not true. So, Derek, here's where you come in here. For somebody who's new to the show, tell us exactly what an annuity is and, of course, the benefits. And with everything, there's always the good and the bad. What are some drawbacks?
So annuities are sold by insurance companies. That's the first thing to kind of know. And an annuity is where you transfer funds. So say your IRA or non-qualified, which is after-tax money, then you transfer $100,000 to the insurance company. So you're transferring a large amount of the risk to the insurance company. The insurance company, they take on that risk, and they house your annuity where there's a lot of different types of annuities, but they can give you a fixed rate, similar to kind of a CD style where say, hey, we're going to pay you for 3 years, 4% on that. There's also lifetime income annuities where you can get a lifetime income stream. You can annuitize an annuity, which means you're giving the funds over to an insurance company and they're giving you a payment based upon the contract you sign with them. Or there's just regular type of what they call fixed index annuities that protect you from loss. But most people use annuities to transfer the market risk off of themselves and transfer that to the insurance company, or a large portion of that risk. That's really how they're used a lot of times. But some of the pros are that you can get guaranteed income off of them, and generally speaking, much higher income than you can take from market assets or bank assets. So that's a huge pro, is, generally 5 to 7%, sometimes even up to 8, 9% of whatever investment you put with them, they'll guarantee for you and your spouse's entire life. So great, right? Everybody's like, hey, okay, you add some layer of protection there, you guarantee my income, fantastic, sign me up. But annuities are not scary, not at all, but you have to make sure that you're in the right annuity and it's meeting your needs. They're tax-deferred earnings too, which people love, especially the last couple of years, because CDs are not tax-deferred. So people have ran to the bank, they've thrown money in a 4 or 5% CD, and now they're actually getting money on their money, but now the tax man right here is where they get upset on CDs, because they're getting this 1099 saying, hey, I made $8,000 last year. Yeah, and so annuities are tax-deferred. Until you withdraw those funds out and everything, you can sit on them and they're all tax deferred. So another great pro. They're also customizable. There's so many different types out there, guys, that y'all can talk with us about, whether it's guaranteed income, fixed rates, whatever. You want to make sure that your annuity matches your goal. And one of the biggest cons to annuity, I will say, is that it doesn't match what the client wanted, or they don't understand what it's doing for them. I would say that's one of the biggest cons, or just knowledge, because the safety that annuities provide a lot of times is one of the biggest drawbacks we get, where we'll sit down with somebody and we'll say, hey, this is a fixed index annuity. It's going to protect you from loss. We're going to transfer that risk to the insurance company, and we're going to grow your money, based upon these factors, and maybe provide lifetime income. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to put all my money into it.
Yikes. That's never good. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know that.
Yeah, never. It's just like any type of financial instrument out there. It needs to be a piece of your portfolio, and you need to know exactly what it's doing for you. Because that's really the number one pitfall when it comes to annuities, is that people try to put too much money into them, because one of the cons is it limits your liquidity. Because of that safety that, they offer, with fixed index annuities and fixed annuities and things like that, right? There's no perfect financial instrument, guys. There's nothing. There's risk on annuities. There's risk in the market. There's risk in CDs. There's risk everywhere out there, but you have to make sure it matches what you want. And one of them is liquidity. Most companies offer 10% a year that you can take out of that annuity for income or just emergencies. But so if you tie up all your money in an annuity and you get a penalty if you take out more than 10%, you can't do that. You're limiting your liquidity too much, and the market provides higher risk, but also a possibility for higher return than what an annuity does. So there's cons, guys. And so I could talk about this all day, Jess, I'll tell you, but it really boils down to the client's needs and making sure they match what the advisor's talking about and what the client is, and really building that relationship. That goes into our first meeting about goals and everything that we just discussed, because what we do with annuities is totally dependent on the person.
Everything is customized.
Yeah, I can see 10 different clients, and maybe 4 of them get annuities, maybe all of them get annuities, and certain percentage, all that. Everything that we do here at Wheel Financial is 100% customizable to the client's needs, their lifestyle, and their legacy. So that's something that I urge you, if you don't know about annuities, or you have an older annuity, because guys, there's some bad annuities out there, and there's some blazing hot, great ones too.
Derek, are you familiar with the actor Seth Rogen?
Yes, actually, I've been told several times that I sound like him.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Really?
Sometimes you do. You have the little growl in his throat. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
right there, just you talking. Yes. Yes, you do. You kind of sound like him. I bet you wish you had his money, because I think he's doing okay.
I wouldn't mind at all. We could trade places. I'd be all right.
There you go. Trade places for a day, see what happens. Well, Seth usually is the funny guy. I'm making us laugh, but he and his wife, Lauren, they're actually out with a new documentary. It's on the serious side. It's actually called Taking Care, and it chronicles their journey to take care of Lauren's mother, who is battling Alzheimer's.
It's very expensive, and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to really give someone good 24-hour-a-day in-home care. And to most people, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year is not an amount of money you just have laying around to spend on something that is not giving you anything other than like some slight sense of normalcy. You know what I mean?
I think we do know what you mean, Seth. And of course, no one wants to leave this financial burden to their family. And I know it's a tough, sensitive topic, Derek, but at the end of the day, we all have to realize, look, tomorrow's going to come. You're going to wake up. You're going to be older. Something hurts. Something goes wrong. Maybe you do get dementia. Maybe you have some kind of unfortunate cancer or something like that. I mean, you're going to need healthcare, assistance. And how do we make sure that we are prepared so we can afford this expensive long-term care?
Yeah, and just this is kind of near to my heart because I went through with my grandmother and really seeing my father go through this with his mom. It was very hard. That's I even got told by the nursing home that was caring for her to not call at one point, just show up, because when we called, what my grandmother was doing is she was walking out there, and because of the mode she was in, she thought I was coming every day.
I've been through it with my grandfather. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's worse than you could ever think. Yeah.
Yeah, bless those people, too, for how good a care they took care of my grandma and everything. But
of course.
It was. Luckily, they were in a place that they were able to use their own assets. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, I don't know numbers or anything, but I would probably say that 90% of their assets when she passed away were all depleted.
Oh, I would 100%. I mean, geez, the cost of healthcare is insane. Now you talk about somebody that needs 24-hour care, or they need a facility, or I mean, it's outrageous, guys. And the cost isn't going to go down, which is why instead of just ignoring it, going, oh, never me, I'm invincible, this is never going to happen, you have to have this conversation. It has to be part of your planning strategy when you sit down with Derek and the team to say, hey, look, could be me, could be my wife, my husband, it could be both of us. We don't want our kids to have to figure this out. How do we do this?
Yeah, and that's one of the conversations that I have with people. And quite frankly, I'm kind of blunt about it because of what we've gone through. And the type of retirement planning I do is that we look for that in the future. So when we talk about long-term care plans, there's good ones and there's bad ones, just like annuities or investments and anything like that. And so that's probably the first thing that we get when we talk about it is, hey, do you have a long-term care plan? And I'd probably say 80% of the time people tell me, no, I don't need one. They don't work or whatever they got with long-term care. So I look them in the eye and say, okay, so what $500,000 do you have that you want to put aside in case you need that?
That's just sitting around.
Yeah. And their eyes just blow up and they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, my job is to take care of you, not today, not just tomorrow, but 30 years from now. And we have to put money aside or make sure that you're taken care of, because are your kids going to do it? You start going down that road is who's going to take care of you? Well, I know, just my experience, and I'm sure you do too, there's a time where your wife or kids or anything will not be able to take care of you. And it's a strong possibility. We all hope, my wife always says this, Jess, you'll love this, where her and me, and she talks about when we pass away, we're going to pass away together, like in the Notebook.
Like the Notebook. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Just go to sleep. And
hey, if you got to go, that's a good way to go. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. But in that same movie, I remind her that the wife, had Alzheimer's and stuff. And so, but you need to plan for that because
you do.
I'm 225 pounds. I'm 6'1". My wife, who is 130 maybe.
Yeah, she can't pick you up if you fall, help you in the bathroom.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, not good.
I wouldn't say it's a burden, but it's something to be realistic about. That how do you want your nursing home days or your end of days or, your succession planning? All that stuff goes into it. But quite frankly, the number one thing, how are you going to pay for it? If you got $500,000 sitting around, fantastic. We'll nudge it over here, and that we'll, put a staple in it, and we're done, right? So, and maybe that is what it is. That's fantastic. That's it. But if not, we have to look at alternatives and how you're going to pay for it. One thing I do with that too is I also factor in the average inflationary rates on, round the clock as well as just partial nursing home care, because your $4,500 a month now. 20 years from now, guys, it's like $13,000 a month.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derek or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyle Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.